Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Coach Pav. I am the Master Cycling Coach at HumanGO, and we are doing, what are we on? Episode 3 since R2? I don't even know what it is. Totally, we're on like 20, I think, but we had to archive so many when we changed the app. But I think we're on episode 3 since R2. And of course, Ray, how are you?
G'day. Yeah, I'm really good. Super Pav. Yeah, happy to be here. I'm the Master Triathlon Coach at HumanGO. So between Pav and I, we've got all sports covered.
All sports, yeah, all of the current sports covered.
True.
That's definitely going to be a lot more coming soon. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's a bit of a secret. But I do remember we're just going to touch on the subject. I think I did watch a Velocity recording of yours the other day, Ray, where maybe you introduced yourself as the Master Cycling Coach.
I did a surprising amount, in fact. Yeah, especially in Velocity because I'm there riding my
biking facts, yeah. And Velocity, for those of you who don't know, is quite cool. I really enjoy it. I enjoy leading it and joining as well. Actually, I enjoy watching your classes. Right, so I guess the spin class in an actual workout, and you can soon be able to join directly from your HumanGO plan. There'll be more on that to come soon. But today we've got some awesome questions, and should we get started, Ray?
Yeah, let's do it. Pav, I love it.
Fantastic. So the first one is coming from Rob. Thank you, Rob. You've given us 2 amazing questions. One I'm going to answer really quickly, and that is that you say that your app drops out mid-workout. So first off, apologies if you're experiencing that. I'm presuming that you mean the workout player. So if you were to go to any workout on your plan, open it up, and you are clicking this little start workout and opening that. If you're experiencing any issues with that, try to give us as much information as possible. I know if it just suddenly crashes, it's really hard to grab a screen recording, but any and as much information as possible. And then what I'm going to have you do, and anyone else that's watching this, raise a bug by coming here and just submitting a ticket. And what that helps is just make sure we track it. We make sure we can identify it. We'll log into your account. We'll check everything's working correctly, and then be able to get back to you with a response. I definitely don't want to pull up your account and expose some of your potentially personal information on a recorded call. So hopefully, Rob, you can get that sorted. We apologize as well. And we'll if you have any follow-ups on that, please do let us know. Mm-hmm. Next question, which I'm going to fire off and to you, Ray, and I love this because I think this is really common for our target audience, or at least some of our target audience. As a beginner at multi-sports and learning to run and swim properly, how should I best use HumanGO to prep for a sprint triathlon?
Oh, gosh, it is a good question, isn't it, Pav? And I ultimately want to say you would agree with me, being a coach, coming from the perspective of HumanGO being an option for a self-coached athlete as well as coaches to help facilitate that extra human connection that might be required for a newer athlete or somebody really pressing some new limits. I think there's 2 parts to it. The one is the work with the human, get in the pool with the swim coach that can teach you the technical efficiencies involved in the swim stroke. Have someone do a run gait analysis, see where the forces are doing you damage potentially. Make sure that we've got the efficiencies coming when it looks to ground, when we look at ground contact time and cadence, key aspects of our running efficiency. And even maybe potentially even more important, Pav, as a cyclist, the bike fit is really critical because you spend so much time in a multi-sport event, and typical triathlon is often half of the time at least is spent on the bike. So anything that's not quite right on the bike is going to have a big impact on the run, and the run being the third discipline when you're tired and fatigue starting to play out. And then, if the bike fit's not right, obviously the run's going to be challenging as well. So there is absolutely those aspects of the human performance piece that we don't do in HumanGO because we don't have that technology yet. But I think as a new athlete, HumanGO is prime to help you on the training side of things. And so when you're setting up a goal and it's all new to you, you want to add a goal and tell HumanGO effectively that you are discovering the distance. Yep, add the new goal there. You can see what Pav's doing on the screen at the moment. Select your sport. It's a sprint, is what you're sort of suggesting here. You can configure those leg distances if that's not the typical. But yeah, just finishing the race suggests that we're not going to press the ramp or challenge you too much, provided you've given HumanGO a nice runway from where you are today to where you want to go with your race. This will be a gentle ramp, and in the background, as HumanGO's tracking how you're performing, how your body's responding to the training, your subjective scores, resting heart rate, HRV, if you've got that coming in through your wearable. These are all going to be aspects that HumanGO is going to track from a performance piece that's going to keep you on track to finishing your race injury-free and hopefully having a good day. I think along the way, the more of that subjective feedback that you give HumanGO, particularly as a beginner athlete, then HumanGO is able to adjust along the way. So you have your daily feedback, which is what Pav's showing us here on the screen, and then you have your workout feedback. And the reason that the workout feedback is so important is, say, for example, HumanGO's prescribed you a 30-minute zone 2 easy bike ride, and you report that was really difficult, kind of like unsustainable. HumanGO's going to see that, and it's going to prompt you. It's going to ask you a question. Hey, that looked like that was a lot more difficult than it should have been. Are you okay? And do we need to make some adjustments? Do we need an extra rest day? Do we need to deload you for the next few days? So that's where that interaction with HumanGO, making sure that it keeps you on track along the way, is really, really important. As a beginner, you also have the option to change a couple of key aspects of your training. The first one is your fatigue tolerance, which assists in driving the aggressiveness of your training ramp. As somebody who is newer to a sport and maybe just wants to take it easy and doesn't want to, overstrain themselves too much, you can adjust your fatigue tolerance to low or very low. And then another aspect of the training cycles, where we talk about periodization being the load phase versus the adaptation phase. The adaptation phase is when you actually get fitter. But as a newer athlete, maybe the default that HumanGO uses of 3 weeks load, 1 week adaptation is a little much. You can decrease that load to maybe 2 weeks and 1 week, or customize it by days. So you're not accumulating as much fatigue over as long a period, and you're getting more frequent adaptation weeks. So that's another way of making sure, as a beginner, the training isn't too overwhelming. I think I got it.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely. I can't think of anything else. Although we are touching on the next question from our next person. So Rob, what I'll say is, I think that covered everything. Obviously, please do reach out if you have any follow-up questions. And yeah, there's plenty of resources, which I'll share now. If you go to More and then Help Center, you can go through any of these. So if there was anything on here which you want to learn a bit more about, the plan, training week, mobile and web at the moment. Web will be changing very soon. Adjusting your training, goal setting, as Ray pointed out, including if you want to change the distance or leg of the race, which I glossed over, but also changing the target of the race, which is what we talked about there. Plenty of videos in the Help Center to be able to go through at your own pace.
I think there's two aspects too, is actually you're going over that screen there, Pav. Thanks for doing that. Is the race planner. Mm-hmm. So when we're getting close, well, not even close though, right? You're starting out your training. You want to have, ask HumanGO what race day could look like. You can approach the race day plan very conservatively by simply telling HumanGO that you want to go at a low percentage or anticipate the leg time being on the slower side. And what that will do is, if you upload a map Hugo will then give you your pacing for each interval on that race course. And that will inform some of the race pace workouts as you get closer to the race as well. So this is just another tool, and you can run a race plan as many times as you want. This isn't hard and fixed. Do it in the first couple of weeks of your training, and then do it every few weeks if you like, as you get fitter and get a better idea on maybe what you can sustain for that particular leg distance in your multi-sport event. So I think the race plan is really fun. It is very flexible in the inputs. As long as you've got that race course map uploaded, it will be very specific for you. And then there was another thing. What was I thinking? It's left me now. Tools for beginners. There was something else that might come back to me. Sorry.
No worries. Let's move on. And if you remember, we can always touch on it. The next question from Christoph is, I'm looking for the best settings of my account in order to improve. For example, the system says that I'm already 100% ready for my Olympic triathlon at the end of August. This is correct, but I want to do better and smash previous times, faster cycling, higher running pace, and so on. I want to take a step forward and not maintain at the same level. And it's truncated that. Okay, yeah, and I want to take now. Yes, okay, so it's I want to take a step forward and not maintain at the same level. So we're talking about adjusting the difficulty. And one of the cool things that we have in the next releases is the ability to go to Hugo, up here, and trap to Hugo and actually have your difficulty changed. And so there is, I'm all over the place. So there is a couple of ways. There's 4 ways in total in which Hugo can change that. Ray, you demonstrated 2 of them with Rob's question. The first was changing the goal target. So you can ask Hugo to change your goal target. You can make it easier or harder depending on what your current setting is. You can also do, you can also do, which I showed, you talked about, Ray, the fatigue tolerance. So you can change that. The other 2 ways in which you can change your the difficulty of your plan is if we go to progress, and then we've got aerobic and metabolic, and then this is where all your thresholds sit. So we have cycling and running for me because I don't do any swimming for very good reasons. And you can see here, this is the thresholds. So you can change this. And what I'm not going to do right now is answer the how to change it, because this is a question that someone has asked us later on. And I know, Ray, we said you were going to take us through some of our new testing updates. Mm-hmm. But this screen, so we'll come back to this screen towards the end of the call, and we'll show you how to adjust these. But essentially, changing stuff like your threshold on your bike, or your TPA, your run pace, threshold pace, is going to make the training either easier or harder. And then finally, the last one, and I'm totally spacing where that is. It's here. I'm glad I've just remembered, but I'm also prodded the wrong thing. I'm having a shocker. The last one is changing your fitness. And I can't believe I'm totally spacing this, because I literally did this week. I wrote the test cases for our team. But show my I'm having a really finally.
Just keep tapping.
Keep button bashing until I finally find what I'm looking for. You can ask Hugo to change your fitness score. Now, this is essentially where your baseline is. It's a calculation made up of recent workouts, or more specifically, the load of those recent workouts over a certain amount of time gives you a fitness score. And as such, if you have a low fitness score, the planner will give you less load coming up. And if you have a high fitness score, the planner will give you more. So essentially, if you look at your training and you think this looks too light, too easy, or subject, or the other side of that, too hard, too difficult, you can ask Hugo. Soon you'll be able to ask Hugo, or you can just type in here the amount of hours that you've trained recently on the last week.
And that might be relevant because you're maybe not trusting the data that's coming in. It's a little, you may be missing some files. You've done some training that didn't get uploaded. All sorts of reasons. And just the fact that even if you're wearing something like a wristwatch, say for example, and it's fitness is a component of time in zone. So if the heart rate isn't accurate, then you're not getting the accurate load. So you can manually adjust that there.
Perfect. Yeah.
There is another way I was just thinking, is what I was kind of thinking about before with the beginner. And really it's the same conversation, isn't it? Is how do we increase or decrease the difficulty of my training? Isn't just the phases. You can go to a particular phase. I would be suggesting if you're adjusting something, you go to the current phase that you're in and you do that from your goals. Few phases, and then you're going to edit the phase that is relevant. And this is very specific. I suggest that you do this if you really understand your physiology. Probably not the best thing for a beginner athlete unless you're moving a lot of the higher intensity work into endurance or zone 2. But you can increase or decrease the time in those higher intensity zones if you want to either effectively increase or decrease the intensity of that phase based on the date range that you can see on the screen that you've opened up. This is just another way of tweaking HumanGO's recommendations and making it a little bit more customized to you, maybe what you're looking for specifically in a phase.
Perfect. I think this is a great one. Yeah, and don't worry, there's some safeguards. So just because I have 11 minutes of neuromuscular sprint training doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but I will cancel out of that. Thank you, Ray. So that was from Christoph. Christoph, great question. Thank you for sending that in. If you have follow-ups and you can't find it in the Help Center, please do reach out. Next question from Eduardo, also a great question. It is trying to figure out how training can fit my life. My restaurant shifts change constantly, so I need a flexible plan. I currently train with the NYC triathlon team, but I'm thinking about switching to my own schedule so I can focus on my data and progress. I also want an easy way to follow each workout on my watch, something simple and hassle-free.
Well, this would be the promo for HumanGO.
Yeah, that sounds like our marketing materials. Yeah, absolutely.
It really does. Yeah, solve these questions, answer these problems for me. Yes, so you're training. I would go to, and maybe this is the best for you to just prompt as you look at the training week as a starting point, Pab, I would say.
Yeah.
Where you clearly have some specific needs based on your lifestyle and your work schedule, where really the high level information that HumanGO uses is your training week, how you set up your training for the week based on what you need. And you can create that in the training week module and tell HumanGO, based on the sports that you're training, what days you can train what discipline and how long you've got to train each of those disciplines. And that in conjunction with the periodization and the goal configuration is what establishes your training program. And they're all specific to you. So, in the same way that we've shown you how to customize even further some of the aspects that feed into the programming for you, the training week is the first port of call. So that's where I would start and structure that around what your weekly schedule to be. Yeah. Have just did a simple drag and drop, added a bike ride, removed a bike ride. You can edit each of those blocks by selecting the little dots on each, and you can tell HumanGO how long even you would like that to be, if in fact you would like it to focus on a specific energy system or not, indoors or outdoors. So you're giving HumanGO a lot of information about how you're going to implement your training on a week-to-week basis right here in your training week. What do you think?
Yeah, we always make a mess of my account, don't we, Ray?
I want to see this training plan.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure I'm going to get 23 hours. Hugo's going to take one look at 23 hours and laugh at me for being so ambitious. And yeah, of course. And then we've got the little wand icon. This is the super simple way to make quick changes where you just adjust this. However, you've got the little wand icon and you can go through this wizard in terms of, you know, setting up exactly how it is. You'll notice, of course, that mine look quite light. That's because 2 times a week on the bike I do velocity, so I don't add those on there. But you know, you can come through, you can do this, you can do a custom amount, select the amount of sessions in the same way that I was just showing before. You can set the time and so on. And then when you come through, select where your long days will be, where you can and can't work, etc. And then when you click this generate, it's just going to quickly make this. So big changes here, little changes here. And for the one-off stuff, we will have custom week soon. That's in the next release, which will be making it super easy to have shift patterns is a good example, vacations and stuff like that, where you are deviating from this, but you don't want to change every single week. So at the moment, it's a bit of a heavy lift. I want to save that. But if we take my next week, and let's just say I want to make a simple change, I can just do that and drag and drop. Whoops. Okay, move to a different day there, but that's okay. Week, I mean, and so forth. I can make changes direct from here. However, it's a bit cumbersome when you've got a lot of changes, but it's not every week. So we have a new feature coming soon, very soon, which will help make that a lot easier.
And I imagine PEVMA, right, is it going to sit under availability where the injury and sickness availability, or will that be?
Yeah. So part of it will be. So if we go to the little, and I glossed over that, oops, this little thingy here, and then we go to availability. So it's not called, it was going to be called life events. And I think I heard someone refer to it differently this morning on one of our product meetings. So I could be completely wrong and misheard. I think we said it's health and recovery or something like that. Or maybe that's being changed. Anyway, there will be a 4th option here, and it will do that. But you will also be able to do it from here, I think, once you've got a customized week, a custom week. So you'll notice. Whoops, you'll notice that you'll be able to, oops, I am having a shocker. You'll be able to, you see, wow, I am all over the place. The little dot up here shows that is a customized week because I've changed it. However, it obviously went away. I haven't changed a week. You know, you won't see that. And that will just open up an option for as well as going to edit training week, you'll see edit custom week.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. And the great thing about, you know, sort of, I guess we're talking, you know, specific work or holiday or family requirements there over a certain date range. We treat injury and illness in the same way. So you set the date range and you tell Hugo what you can and can't train coming back from injury, or if you've got an injury or coming back from illness, say, for example. So it means that based on a date range, you are easily able to deal with those specifics for your training, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's this, like you were saying, Ray, where, for example, you go on vacation and you can only, probably that way around, in fact, only run, you can't bike, but it's going to be for a week and, you know, it's not forever. So rather than changing the training week or having to change every single workout, you can just come here and do that thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Ray. Let's, let me see. Eduardo, let us know. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, and if there's no resources in the help center to help you, please reach out. Okay, so I'm going to butcher this name. I'm really sorry. Leader Barrios, who's a coach, I believe, sent us in a question regarding coaching your athletes. So we don't tackle that on these calls. However, we do have this for coaches. So what I'm going to do is I will put the form to complete if you want to reach out to Ray and I. It's been a lot more on you, to be honest, Ray, hasn't it? You've been helping out with the coaches far more. I've been slacking with the coaches, so I appreciate that. We'll put that in there, fill out the form, and we will either get you on a group call or we will reach out to schedule something individually. But we welcome all human coaches to come and experience what Ray and I have experienced. For me, I'm on 3.5. You're on 4.5. Are you years now?
Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, and how it can really, make a business, a coach's business, scalable, and all the other beautiful things that us as coaches want. So thank you for that. I'll put that in the description on YouTube or in the Help Center. So we're coming into Oscar, who has sent 3 questions, and I'm not going to guess the middle one. They were written in Spanish. Potencial versus pulsiones. Sorry if I said that wrong. Please reach out. We don't know what that is. Google Translate couldn't help, so I'm not going to answer that and get it wrong. However, we've got 2 great questions, which I love. We're going to start with zone configuration. So handing over back to you, Ray, we're going to talk about HumanGO recalibration testing, which I think we're all super stoked about, and what that means. So I will follow as we talk.
So there we're talking HumanGO recalibration is our in-app zone recalibration protocol that you can do at home for both cycling and running. And that allows you to get a customized threshold value and customized training zones. As long as you have a heart rate monitor and pacer speed or power, pacer speed for running, power for cycling, you will get customized heart rate zones and training and pace zones or power zones for running and cycling. Customized to you based on your physiological response and the load. So what that means is, unlike maybe where you're working at the moment, your zones are based on a percentage of your threshold. This is customized to your own physiological response, which could mean that you're going to discover something about your physiology that you maybe had a slight inkling about, but this will confirm it. What we often see is where one zone is very, very wide and another zone might be very, very narrow. And that's really, truly reflective of the training that you've done to that point. So they're called recalibration tests because they recalibrate those zones and that threshold value for you. So to establish that, you're going to go to a performance test, add performance test, select what discipline you want to add. In the HumanGO recalibration configuration, we have 2 essentially different options. The first one is a 1-day test for a developed and experienced athlete. Is 3 max efforts in one workout, about an hour and a half long. It's a heavy lift. But we also have an option where you can split that 1-day protocol into 2 separate days. It decreases the load from one day to the next, and ensures that you still get the quality for each of those 3 separate max efforts that you're going to perform for that protocol. So you're just going to select that, and HumanGO is going to actually soon give you a suggestion on what day it's best to add that. At the moment, actually we have that, we just haven't got it color coded. Yeah, so HumanGO is suggesting here for Pav that based on the fact that he's chosen the 2-day test for cycling, these are the dates that HumanGO is suggesting that he adds that based on his form or effective fatigue at that time. So we always want to, I would say always, most of the time we want to test when we're fresh so that we get a true value for threshold and we get a true representation of your zones. Sometimes it is okay to test with a little fatigue in the system, particularly if you're looking at translating that information into a race or an event performance. But most of the time, we're looking for the best reflection of your fitness and metabolic profile in real time. So I would say go with HumanGO's suggestion, because HumanGO's saying these are the days that you're freshest, and select that and then confirm that. And then HumanGO will add that to your training schedule. Ta-da.
You can see all of the various things. I'm not really doing all of these workouts, everybody. But if we go to progress, I know we were there a bit earlier, but go to aerobic and metabolic, and and then essentially you'll see zones. Here we go. Because I say I did a HumanGO test. I don't think I really did it because that's that. I know I haven't done a lot of cycling this year, but that's quite low for
quite low for you.
Yeah. But essentially setting the zones here by actual physiological markers rather than, like you said, Ray. I don't want to say it's arbitrary to just do percentage of threshold, but there's certainly a more accurate way. And in lieu of, not being able to go to the lab and actually get lab testing, we know that, high 90% accuracy rate from our HumanGO recalibration, which has been developed with the physiologists, to be fair. So, awesome. Oscar, hopefully that answers your question around zone configuration. So we're going to move on to your last question, the last question of the day. It's a little bit loose. You just said nutrition. We have some pretty cool things coming up in HumanGO with nutrition. We're not going to talk about them too much today. We can say that we have an integration with Fuelin. So you can, obviously that's another subscription that you need. But I don't know, have you used Fuelin, Ray?
Yeah, I've tested it. I have a lot of my athletes use it.
Yeah.
It prescribe. Yeah, and like you say, it's a separate subscription. And we don't have the full native integration, just to be clear on that as well. But you can get all of your training pushed into Fuelin, and it will prescribe your daily, pre-workout, during workout, post-workout nutrition requirements based on the intensity of your training days and the micro macros for your entire week. And it adjusts. So in the same way that HumanGO adjusts your training based on your response and kind of what you complete, Fuelin does the same, and it's retroactive. So it reports on and gathers data around what you've done compared to what you've taken in, and then it adjusts for you going forward. And it works on, sort of to clarify, in the similar way that HumanGO works on a weekly load basis, Fuelin works similarly. So very similar apps that work together. And yeah, we've got lots to look forward to in that space as well. I think it's probably, next to the customization and individualization of the training itself that happens in HumanGO, probably the source of most questions for most endurance sports athletes.
And I will add to that. Well, I want to finish with a question for you. Maybe we can loosely discuss. But if you do, HumanGO does have access to a really quite comprehensive knowledge base of nutrition. Questions such as how much carbohydrates or protein you eat a day. I even asked HumanGO once, which was the healthiest fast food. I'm not going to name drop what the response was, but I was quite happy with the response.
Is it down the street from you? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's my favorite Mexican. We'll say that. HumanGO's obviously something which we will continue to spend a lot of dev time on and improve. But nutrition is there. So I guess, without knowing exactly what else you would want from the question nutrition, Oscar, maybe I can just, as we've got some time, ask you, Ray, in all your years as a coach, what is the biggest learning that you've taken from a nutrition standpoint that you would then obviously pass on to your athletes, your coached athletes?
Yeah, how individual it is, but not just as an athlete. How individual it is based on your course profile, your distance, your disciplines, and the environmental influences on the day. So both in training and racing. And as much as possible, we want to test race day conditions in training way, way, way out from event day. So yes, we want to use fact and science, but we also are all so individual. Our guts respond differently. There are gender differences. We, depending on the kind of training that you're doing, high intensity maybe versus heat training, that has an implication on how the gut digests and absorbs and, assimilates into the system. These are all aspects that we want to simulate in training on an individual basis to create a very clear plan for race day. There's a lot of trial and error in it. And even people from Fuelin say the same thing. So these are recommendations, but until you've tested it and truly know how your body's going to deal with suggested intake, you don't know. Yeah.
I think I couldn't have picked a better answer for on the bike. So I will answer off the bike. For me, And it does depend a little bit on your goals and your willingness to, what you're trying to do. If you're trying to reach the Olympics and you've got one shot, then I always like to think that my point is, I always recommend my clients, almost all of them, have some form of enjoyment in their nutrition. Eat something that you like, even if that's, crisps, chips, or something like that. 80-20 rule is probably where I sit for the average person. 80% of the time you're eating to support your training, healthy lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. 20% of the time you're having something which might not be considered the best option, but is a great addition to a healthy lifestyle and healthy diet. So that can be soda, popsicles, whatever it is. It's in moderation. You enjoy it, because we know that when we make these changes and they are 100% healthy, if you're not engaged, you don't enjoy that, it's short-lived and you're not going to stick to it. So 80-20 is a good place to start. Again, if you're an Olympian and you're trying to get there, then maybe for the small time that you're trying to make the Olympics, you're close to 100%. But have your beer and your champagne after you've got gold, and then you can go on with the rest of us mortals with the 80-20 rule.
I really like that. Yeah, so that sustainable aspect of enjoying the journey. Yeah,
I love that. Enjoying the journey as much as enjoying the outcome. None of us, when we were all kids, and I'll obviously use cycling as an example because I'm a cycling coach, but none of us got a bike when we were kids and rode for anything other than enjoyment. Maybe a little bit for commuting, but it was still fun riding a bike. A lot of fun. And I think that we sometimes, I see it a lot with athletes, forget that actually it's supposed to be fun too. Maybe not the I Hate Coach pad workout, but we got to...
No, even don't mind those sometimes.
Yeah, in moderation. Well, Ray, obviously, thank you. I think we said this last time. I think this is probably some of the best questions that we've ever had. Very, very varied, but very in depth and kind of thought provoking. Not necessarily with a right answer, especially for nutrition, but with a good amount of information. I think we've imparted to for people to go over some thought.
Yeah, great, brilliant, good stuff. Thank you, Pav.
Welcome, Ray. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Enjoy the rest of your day. Reach out if you have anything else. Thank you.